Why was a food that saved entire fleets and armies from certain death practically wiped out of our modern diet? This product required no electricity, no special technology, and no chemical preservatives. It consisted of fermented vegetables, most often common cabbage, which we know as sauerkraut. Today, many view it as some archaic, old relic, but for hundreds of generations of our ancestors, it was literally a treasure trove of health and life, a fundamental element of survival integrated into every kitchen from Asia to Europe. Our story begins with the most critical challenge. In the age of great seafaring, when voyages lasted for years, sailors didn't die from storms or battles. They died from scurvy, a terrible disease caused by an acute lack of vitamin C. Its symptoms, bleeding gums, lost teeth, and hemorrhages, were a certain death sentence, a silent yet relentless killer that ravaged ships faster than any plague. One man, the British captain and explorer James Cook, found salvation. During his legendary circumnavigations, lasting 3 years, he did not lose a single sailor to scurvy. His secret was sauerkraut. Cook cleverly tricked his men into eating it. He couldn't simply order them, as sailors disliked the product. He initially served it only to the officers, thereby turning it into a scarce, prestigious item. This quickly made it desirable among the entire crew. And this wasn't quackery. It was empirical evidence that practically confirmed the vital necessity of preserving nutrients. Sauerkraut, like Korean kimchi or Russian kvass, is full of vitamin C during fermentation. Vitamin C is not destroyed, and in some cases, its bioavailability is even increased. Most importantly, this vitamin is preserved through the fermentation process even over long months, unlike fresh produce, which quickly loses its benefits. This food was a living shield against disease, the only reliable way to preserve vital nutrients during a long, harsh winter when fresh vegetables were simply unavailable. It was food created by nature itself to overcome seasonal scarcity and hunger. But what, scientifically speaking, happens when we ferment cabbage? Truly, a miracle of microbial engineering occurs. Bacteria, primarily from the genus Lactobacillus, begin their work. They feed on the sugars contained in the vegetables and in return release lactic acid. Note that it is lactic acid, not vinegar, that is the key preservative and flavor creator, possessing a gentle yet effective antibacterial action. It creates an acidic environment so aggressive that most pathogenic, harmful bacteria simply cannot survive in it. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. The fermentation process produces not only organic acids, but also many vitamins, including B vitamins, which are critically important for metabolism and the nervous system, as well as the rare and valuable vitamin K2, menaquinone. We now know that K2 plays a critical role in bone health by directing calcium to the right places, and in cardiovascular health, preventing arterial calcification. And of course, the most valuable part is the trillions of live, active probiotics that enter our gut in vast numbers, colonizing and enriching our microbiome. Our ancestors intuitively understood how vital these foods were. Look at the culture. In Korea, kimchi is a national treasure, and in China and Europe, fermentation has been part of food security for millennia. In every culture where the winter period was harsh, there was its own fermented product, from yogurt and kefir to pickles and miso. This food was the foundation of their immune system and their strength. But then, somewhere in the mid-19th and early 20th centuries, history changes abruptly and catastrophically. The great era of industrialization and mass food production begins. The great savior and killer simultaneously enters our lives, canning and pasteurization. The industry, focused on a global market, long-distance transportation, and maximum profit, faced a huge problem. Living food, full of active bacteria, was unpredictable. If you leave sauerkraut or any other fermented product on a store shelf, it will continue to slowly ferment. It will release gases. It might even spoil the packaging. A living product requires refrigeration and quick turnover. This was a huge, unacceptable risk for logistics and for the attractive appearance of the product on the shelf. It was then that the industry made its choice. It chose convenience, uniformity, and a long, guaranteed shelf life over nutritional value and vital force. Canning and later pasteurization, a process that involves heating food to high temperatures, successfully killed absolutely all microorganisms. They stopped the work of probiotics, making the jar or package completely inert, dead. Such a product could sit on the shelf for months, if not years. From a logistical and commercial perspective, it was an incredible triumph, allowing for the construction of global supply chains. But from the perspective of our health, it was a slow, disguised catastrophe. I emphasize the key conflict. While Captain Cook used living sauerkraut to save lives, the canning industry, which eventually grew into a multi-billion-dollar business, chose dead food. These products became clean and safe in the industrial, commercial sense, but they were completely deprived of the live, active power that made them so valuable and indispensable for our health. It was at this historical moment that the great concealment of microbiological knowledge occurred. Food giants didn't officially ban fermentation. They simply made it unprofitable and archaic. They replaced the labor-intensive, slow, and uncontrollable process of natural fermentation with fast, sterile, and completely standardized methods. They began adding sugar, vinegar, and chemical preservatives to products to mimic the sour taste of fermentation, while guaranteeing a shelf life that could last until the end of the century. Thus, the consumer received only the imitation of flavor, but lost all the functional benefit. Gradually, naturally fermented foods were pushed to the periphery of our attention, becoming the domain of small ethnic communities or expensive organic shops. We, as mass consumers, learned to rely solely on sterilized, factory-made, packaged food. We are feeling the consequences of this choice today, and they are immense. As we stopped consuming natural probiotics, the number of diseases related to the imbalance of our gut flora grew. Allergies, autoimmune disorders, inflammatory bowel diseases, and even many mental health issues. The disruption of the gut-brain axis has become one of the key problems of modern medicine. Science today firmly states our gut is our second brain, and the health of our microbiome is directly connected to everything that happens in our body. My conclusion is this: what was buried is not just some old product. It is the fundamental knowledge of our symbiosis with microbes. It is the knowledge of natural immunity. The industry sold us convenience and sterility, but took away our resilience and true health. We traded our microflora for a jar of long-lasting preserves, not realizing the true cost of this transaction. Fortunately, a slow but very important revival is taking place today. We, the people, disappointed by modern illnesses and health problems, are seeking alternatives. We are starting to return to the simplest methods, to fermentation crocks, to traditional recipes, to living food. We realize that in their struggle for profit and absolute control over production, corporations made a fundamental mistake that cost all of humanity its microbiological heritage. The irony is that today, to buy a high-quality probiotic product that actually works, we must either pay an incredibly high price for capsules at the pharmacy, taking them as medicine, or return to the method used by a simple sailor under James Cook 300 years ago. The history of this ancient food is a powerful reminder. The best and most robust solutions for our health and for our lives often lie not in multi-million funded laboratories and not on industrial store shelves, but in the wisdom and traditions that we have painstakingly forgotten and buried. It is time for us to bring living food back to our table.